Welcome back to the YouTube channel OLD Penny Coins HD, the channel where small coins hide big money and history turns into profit. If you think a $quarter is just pocket change, stay right here because today's video can completely change the way you look at every US quarter you own. Some $quarter coins that once bought a soda are now worth hundreds, thousands, and in rare cases, even tens of thousands of dollars. And the shocking part is many of these valuable quarters are still out there in circulation, sitting in old jars, wallets, drawers, or forgotten coin collections. Today, we're revealing the top 5 valuable U.S. $quarter coins that collectors are hunting aggressively right now. These are not fantasy coins or museum-only pieces. These are real quarters with real value, and one small detail, one tiny mint mark, or one rare error can turn an ordinary quarter into a life-changing treasure. Imagine finding a single coin worth more than a full month's salary, or even more than a used car, just by checking your change. Welcome back to the channel Coins Quarter Dollar, where hidden history meets real value. And today you are about to travel deep into the story of the 1999 Georgia State Quarter, a coin that launched a revolution in American coin collecting and quietly became one of the most important modern coins ever struck. Imagine holding a small piece of metal that carries the pride, struggle, culture, and future of an entire state, because this quarter is not just spare change. It is a symbol of a turning point in United States history, and in this video, we uncover why the Georgia quarter was released, why its design shocked collectors, why millions of people started collecting coins again because of it, and how certain examples can still surprise you with their value today. The year is 1999. The United States Mint is preparing something never done before, a program designed to reconnect everyday Americans with their money. The 50-state quarters program begins, and Georgia becomes one of the first states honored. Released on January 4th, 1999, this coin instantly entered pockets, wallets, and cash registers across the nation. But behind its simple appearance lies a carefully crafted message. The reverse design shows the outline of the state of Georgia, a ripe peach, and branches of live oak surrounded by the words, wisdom, justice, moderation. These are not random images, they represent the official state motto and core values that date back to the founding principles of Georgia itself. The peach symbolizes Georgia as the peach state, representing agriculture, growth, and abundance, while the live oak branches stand for strength, endurance, and deep roots in American soil. The obverse features George Washington redesigned by William Cousins, maintaining a connection to the nation's past, while the reverse pushes boldly into a new era. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints for circulation, and also at the San Francisco Mint for proof versions. And for the first time in decades, Americans were checking their change with excitement. Families saved rolls, kids learned geography, and coin shops saw a new generation walk through their doors. The Georgia quarter played a key role in that explosion of interest because it represented the Old South, the civil rights legacy, and a modern growing state all in one compact design. Collectors often overlook circulated examples, but condition matters. Uncirculated coins with sharp details, strong luster, and clean surfaces can carry premiums, while proof versions with deep mirrored fields are especially desirable. Error coins like off-center strikes, double dies, or clipped planchets can be worth far more than face value and still occasionally appear in collections pulled from circulation. Today, the historical importance of this quarter goes beyond money. It marked the moment when coin collecting returned to mainstream culture. It reminded Americans that coins tell stories, and Georgia was one of the first voices in that story. As you look at this quarter, you are seeing a bridge between past and present, a state proud of its heritage, and a nation rediscovering its coins. So before you spend another quarter, stop and look closely, because the 1999 Georgia quarter might not just be change, it might be history in your hand. As the story of the 1999 Georgia quarter continues, we move deeper into the era that shaped its creation and the powerful reasons this coin still matters today. At the end of the 20th century, America was changing rapidly. Technology was rising. Communities were expanding, and traditions were being re-examined. The United States Mint recognized that younger generations had lost interest in coins and needed a reason to look. Again, Georgia, as one of the original colonies, was chosen early in the program to represent history, resilience, and balance the motto, Wisdom, Justice. Moderation printed proudly around the design reflects ideals written into the Georgia state seal. And these words were meant to remind every person who held the coin that money can carry values. Not just value, the artist carefully balanced every element, the peach centered to show pride, the oak branches reaching outward to symbolize protection and unity, and the state outline grounding the design in identity. When these quarters entered circulation, banks reported shortages as people requested rolls to save schools, used them as teaching tools, and coin albums became household items. Again, the production numbers were massive, with hundreds of millions struck. Yet rarity was never the main purpose. Influence was, and that influence changed the hobby forever. Collectors today study strike quality, differences between Philadelphia and Denver mint issues, noticing how luster tone and surface marks vary based on mint conditions, storage, and circulation patterns. Proof coins, struck in San Francisco, were produced with special dies, polished planchets, and careful handling, creating mirror-like fields and frosted details that remain highly collectible when preserved properly. Error specialists search Georgia quarters for mint mistakes, including rotated dies, broad strikes missing, clad layers, and doubled inscriptions, which can dramatically increase value and historical interest. The Georgia quarter also reflects a deeper cultural moment. It arrived during a time when states were redefining their identity in a modern America. Georgia, with its complex history from colonial beginnings to civil rights, leadership to economic growth, was perfectly captured in this simple design. This coin traveled through every layer of society, from grocery stores to gas stations. From classrooms to collectors' safes, each scratch and mark tells a journey story, a reminder that coins live real lives beyond mint sets as years pass. High-grade examples become harder to find because circulation slowly removes the best specimens, making well-preserved coins more desirable over time. Grading services evaluate these coins based on strike-eye appeal and surface preservation, and top-graded examples can command strong premiums, especially when paired with beautiful toning or flawless proof surfaces. This is why understanding the history behind the 1999 Georgia quarter matters, because knowledge transforms ordinary change into a meaningful artifact. The more you learn, the more valuable the coin becomes, not just in dollars, but in appreciation and respect. The Georgia quarter stands as a foundation stone of the state quarters program, a program that lasted 10 years, reshaped modern numismatics, and introduced millions to the idea that coins are stories pressed into metal. And as long as people continue to search their change and learn their history, the legacy of the 1999 Georgia quarter will continue to grow quietly, powerfully, and endlessly in the hands of those who know what they are holding. Imagine holding a coin so simple yet so iconic that its silent silver shine tells the proud story of the American heartland, a coin that carries the breeze of endless prairies, the strength of the buffalo, and the spirit of freedom that shaped the Midwest. Today we dive deep into one of the most celebrated pieces of the United States 50-state quarters program, the 2005 Kansas quarter. A coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but unfolds into a rich narrative of American heritage, artistry, minting, evolution, and hidden collector mysteries. This is not just a quarter. This is a tribute to a land where pioneers dreamed, farmers struggled, buffalo roamed, and the American identity took shape. And today you are about to discover every layer of its creation, from the first sketches to the final strike, from the historic Kansas symbols chosen for the design to the deep reasoning behind the inscriptions, from the minting process that shaped millions of pieces to the rare errors that turned some of those pieces into treasures worth far more than 25 cents. In this full in-depth journey, you will learn the complete history of the 2005 Kansas quarter, so detailed that you could turn it into a 2-hour documentary. Because the story of this coin is not just metal, it is culture, it is history, it is struggle, and it is pride. So sit back and let the story unfold. The history of the 2005 Kansas Quarter begins with the groundbreaking 50 state quarters program launched by the United States Mint in 1999. A program designed to honor every state with a unique quarter released in the order they joined the Union. Kansas, being admitted to the United States on January 29, 1861, earned its place in the release year of 2005. The mission of the program was not only to encourage collectors, but also to educate Americans about the heritage symbols and identity of each state. The Kansas design would become one of the most recognizable of the entire series. The state of Kansas chose imagery that perfectly represented its identity. The mighty American bison standing strong and grounded, and the graceful sunflower symbol of warmth, beauty, and growth. The bison was not just any creature, but an icon deeply tied to the Great Plains, representing resilience, power, and the untamed spirit of the West, once roaming by the millions across Kansas prairies. The bison is an animal that survived near extinction and rebounded through conservation efforts, making it a perfect symbol of endurance. The sunflower, the state flower of Kansas, represents loyalty, optimism, and the natural beauty of Kansas. Landscapes, its bright petals echo the golden fields of wheat and open prairies that stretch across the state. The design combined strength and beauty in one powerful image. The inscription, "Free State," added a timeless historical message, reminding Americans of the anti-slavery stance Kansas proudly took before the Civil War. The journey from design to production was long, and detailed artists proposed multiple sketches, each highlighting different parts of Kansas' identity, but the combination of the bison and the sunflower quickly stood out as the most powerful representation. Once the final design was selected, the United States Mint engraved it with precision, transforming artwork into metal dies that would press the imagery onto millions of circulating coins. The Kansas Quarter was minted at both the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint, with each location producing millions of pieces. But despite the high production numbers, the Kansas Quarter became famous not only for its design, but also for rare and fascinating minting errors that collectors chase to this day. One of the most legendary errors associated with the Kansas 2005 quarter is the famous "In God We Rust" error, caused by grease or debris partially blocking the die, making the letter T in trust disappear, resulting in the phrase reading, "In God we rust" or "In God we rust." Depending on the strike, collectors quickly noticed this strange and eye-catching misprint, and its rarity made it highly desirable. Some pieces with this error have sold at impressive values. The error occurred frequently enough to become well-known, yet rarely enough to remain collectible and valuable. The Kansas Quarter also saw other lesser-known errors, such as off-center strikes, die clashes, and weak strikes, adding depth to its place in numismatic history. Beyond errors, the coin itself is a standard-clad composition of copper and nickel designed for durability and everyday use. Yet its meaning goes far beyond its metal content. Every detail of the Kansas Quarter reflects American pride, the natural heritage of the Midwest, and the deep cultural symbolism rooted in Kansas history. The coin became an educational tool for millions of Americans, introducing school children, families, and new collectors to the world of numismatics, as the 50 State Quarters program turned everyday change into small pieces of American storytelling. When the 2005 Kansas Quarter entered circulation, its artwork immediately captured attention. The strong figure of the bison standing proudly with the sunflower beside it created a natural balance between power and peace. The coin became popular among collectors, casual hobbyists, and even people who normally paid little attention to everyday currency. Decades later, the Kansas Quarter remains one of the most recognized designs of the series, its simple yet bold artwork giving it a timeless appeal. As the years passed, collectors continued studying the Kansas Quarter, learning more about die varieties, mint differences, and long-term value trends. Coins in mint state condition especially those graded MS-66 or higher, became sought after while error versions gained even more attention. The Kansas quarter proved that even modern coins could achieve strong collector interest when history, design, and rarity come together in harmony. The Kansas quarter remains not just a piece of currency, but a symbol of the American Midwest, a tribute to a state whose history includes the struggle for freedom, the preservation of wildlife, the cultivation of land, and the spirit of hope. The coin tells us about the land of sunflowers, the strength of the plains, and the people who shaped Kansas culture. It stands as a reminder that every coin has a story, and some stories are powerful, enough to fill hours with meaning. This is why the 2005 Kansas quarter continues to fascinate both new collectors and experienced experts alike, turning a simple 25-cent piece into a window of history, heritage, and pride. In a world where every coin tells a story and every piece of metal whispers the forgotten chapters of American history, the 1983 Washington quarter stands as one of the most intriguing, mysterious, and unexpectedly valuable coins ever created by the United States Mint, a coin born in a year of economic turbulence, minting challenges, metal shortages, and national change. A year that transformed an ordinary quarter into a legendary collectible that still fascinates numismatists, treasure hunters, and history lovers across the nation. And today we dive deep into the journey of this iconic 1983 quarter, exploring its origin, its purpose, its production struggles, its striking anomalies, and the surprising reasons why this single 25-cent piece can command massive attention in the world of rare coins. And as we travel back through the decades, you will see how a simple quarter minted for everyday use became a symbol of American craftsmanship, resilience, and unexpected rarity, and how even today, collectors are willing to pay high premiums for pristine examples full of sharp detail, bold strikes, and unique mint characteristics. A coin that should have been common, yet became scarce, a coin that should have blended into circulation, yet stood out as a shining chapter in American minting history. And our journey begins in the early months of 1983, when the United States Mint was still recovering from the economic pressures of the late 1970s and early 1980s, a time defined by inflation, rising metal prices, and nationwide budget adjustments, leading to strategic changes in coin production. And in that environment, the Washington quarter continued its long-standing legacy, a design first introduced in 1932, honoring the 200th birthday of President George Washington, and sculpted by John Flanagan, whose portrait of Washington would remain one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. The 1983 quarter was meant to be just another continuation of that tradition, yet hidden within the year were unusual circumstances that would elevate the coin far beyond its intended purpose. And one of the main reasons for the unexpected importance of the 1983 quarter was the absence of official mint sets for that year, a result of financial constraints and policy choices that disrupted collectors who relied on these sets to obtain high-grade coins directly from the mint. Without mint sets, the supply of high-quality 1983 coins in the hands of collectors dropped dramatically, forcing collectors to obtain their coins from circulation, where they quickly suffered wear, scratches, and damage, making mint state 1983 quarters, especially from the Philadelphia Mint, significantly harder to find than surrounding years. And as the mint battled production pressure, shortages in die preparation, and heavy demand for circulating coinage, many 1983 quarters were struck with weak details, flat hairlines, soft eagles, and uneven surfaces, creating a year full of challenges that directly influenced the rarity of high-grade survivors. And as the coins entered circulation, they became part of a nation transitioning into new cultural movements, new technology, new economy, and new financial expectations. And the 1983 quarter moved through daily transactions, gas stations, grocery stores, bus fares, lunch counters, each one slowly forming its own marks and story until only a handful would remain untouched enough to qualify as exceptional collector pieces decades later. And among the most famous and sought-after varieties of this year stands the legendary legendary 1983 P quarter with the dramatic die break known by collectors as the spitting eagle error, caused by a die crack extending from the eagle's mouth downward, creating the appearance of a projectile and transforming a simple minting flaw into one of the most famous error coins of the 1980s. And as collectors discovered this variety, excitement surged through the numismatic community, bringing even more attention to the 1983 quarter and elevating its status beyond a simple circulation coin. And as time passed and most examples disappeared into pockets, drawers, vending machines, and coin counters, the remaining high-grade coins began commanding strong prices, especially those certified in MS-65, MS-66, and above, quickly becoming key coins for anyone building a complete modern quarter set. And today, the 1983 quarter stands not just as a piece of money, but as a living artifact of American minting history. A reminder of how economic conditions, production decisions, metal supply challenges, and human craftsmanship can combine to create unexpected rarity and lasting collector value. And as you explore the coin, its history, and its varieties, you begin to understand why this single year remains one of the most studied, discussed, and desired issues in the entire Washington Quarter series, a coin that proves that rarity is not always planned. Value is not always predictable, and history is sometimes hidden in the smallest details of a simple silver-colored coin passed from hand to hand across the nation. And this is the story of the 1983 Washington Quarter, a story that continues to grow as more collectors search for high-grade examples, rare errors, and untouched treasures still waiting to be discovered in the wild, and it remains a powerful reminder that in the world of coins, history is everywhere, even in the pocket change of an ordinary American morning. As the journey of the 1983 Washington Quarter continues, we move deeper into the environment that shaped this unique coin, a time when the United States Mint was navigating not only economic limitations, but also the challenges of aging equipment, evolving minting techniques, and enormous public circulation demands. And while the quarter was already a fundamental part of American commerce, the year 1983 pushed the design to its limits, revealing the strengths and the weaknesses of the minting process in extraordinary ways. And to understand the true importance of this quarter, we must step inside the minting facilities themselves, beginning with Philadelphia, where millions of 1983 P quarters were produced. Yet despite the large numbers, the scarcity of well-struck, high-grade examples continues to astonish collectors because the Philadelphia Mint rushed production schedules and reused dies far beyond their ideal lifespan, resulting in significant wear on the dies, creating coins that show soft details, worn lettering, flat drapery on Washington's portrait, and an eagle with reduced feather clarity. And because these weak strikes circulated heavily, finding one today with full luster sharp hairlines, strong rims, and crisp eagle feathers is a challenge that pushes the value of certified high-grade coins into premium territory. And as we shift our focus to the Denver Mint, we uncover another layer of the story, where the 1983 D quarter faced its own distinct obstacles, including die fatigue, misaligned strikes, and inconsistent metal flow. Yet even with these complications, the Denver issues generally display somewhat stronger details than their Philadelphia counterparts, though still affected by heavy circulation, which makes high mint state survivors equally desirable. And as we explore the work of engravers and mint technicians, we discover that the original design created by John Flanagan in 1932 was never intended to endure such long-term use without periodic refinements, and by the early 1980s, the design had lost some of its original sharpness as decades of die hubs